So happy to be back with you today. I want to share today about faith and about hoping and trusting. And this comes from what I read earlier this week, Romans chapter 4, verse 18. Let me read it for you. Even when there was no reason for hope, Abraham kept hoping, believing that he would become the father of many nations. It's an amazing truth about this thing about fact over faith, truth versus the facts. Abraham was 100 years old, Sarah was almost 90, and the promise of being a father of many nations had not yet happened yet. They had no children. And it says here, even though when there was no reason for hope, there comes times when it just looks like there is no reason for hope. And yet Abraham, he still had faith. He still kept believing that he would become this father of many nations, even when it had not yet happened yet. There was no reason for hope. The truth was, or the facts were, that old people simply don't reproduce. Not at 100 and not at ages 190. And that is what they were up against. And yet Abraham is our father of faith. He is the model of faith. He kept believing. He kept trusting. And what I want to say to you today is, maybe there was something that you believe that God has called you to do. Maybe there is something that God wants you to do. He said it's true in your life, it's going to happen, and yet it has not yet happened yet. And maybe you're at that point when it seems like there's no reason for hope. There's no reason for hope. You might be saying, this will never happen. If it's going to happen, it should have happened by now. If God wanted it to happen, it will happen. But I really believe that if we will look at Abraham as the father of faith, as our example of faith, that if we will hang in there and keep trusting God, and that other biblical principle that Jesus often shares about, keep asking, keep seeking, keep knocking. Don't stop. You know, I remember there was a time when a few years ago we were planting a church and I had to raise money and I had to get a church that would sponsor me, meaning that they would back me financially. They would, if everything went south, they'd be right there to supply whatever we needed. And I had nobody. I could find nobody. And it got right to the last minute, and I was just praying and seeking and still believing that God had called me to do that. And at the 11th hour, it came through, and God provided this sponsoring church. You just keep faith. You just keep believing. You keep seeking. You keep trusting that God is going to do it, and you stay active, and you keep doing the things that you should be doing, the positive, productive things, and you do what you can do, and you allow God to do what only He can do. And so I believe Abraham is a great model of faith for us. And I just want to give you that encouragement today. With enthusiasm, I want to give you encouragement to say, whatever it is that God has called you to do, even when it seems like there's no way it's going to happen, keep believing, keep trusting, keep asking. All right? I hope you have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next week.